Yo, let's do a breakdown here. We're going to do Party Diva by Deeper Purpose. I haven't really listened to this track yet, but it just broke into the top three, so I want to check it out. Let's go ahead and break it down. Here we go. All right, so we got intro beats. Interesting little identifier, you could say. Some kind of like filtery percussion, maybe even some kind of like vocal in there, just adding a unique element to the percussion. It's also a call response, so we're getting a motif right away. So intro beats plus motif with a little bit of a unique twist on it. So really good off the bat. So a little bit of a lift here with the hat. So they added that little hat. All right, definitely a tops lift here. So we're getting some kind of 16th filler shakers on the top. Okay, so now we're at an intro break. So this is a little bit longer than what you'll typically see at the top lately, which is pretty short intros, like 16 bars. But this is pretty standard too. Like, especially a couple of years ago, just having minute-long intros was kind of the norm. And so this is pretty normal. We're just kind of lifting every step of the way here. We're just introducing the beats, some kind of that unique kind of percussion motif with a little filtery kind of vibe with some vocals, some call response. Here, doing a little bit of a offbeat hat lift every other. Here, we're getting a little bit of a shaker lift. So we're just kind of building things up a little bit. And then here, we're going to preview the bass line. So the intro break, we're getting a little bit of a break here between the full kick presentation, and then that full kick presentation goes away. Why? Because we want to have that the kick really slam when we get into the bass drop. And by previewing the bass with a high pass, it's kind of teasing what's to come, which is giving us the full low end here. And so we're getting a little bit of a tease here. A little bit of a tease of the vocal too. So proper bass drop, just dropping the bass line like we got to do. So here the intro, now the next part we're going into the bass drop. And the whole point of the bass drop is to do one and only one thing, and that is to introduce the bass line, to teach people how to move and groove to the track before you start throwing hooks on top, which is going to be the job of hook drop 1 right here and hook drop 2 right here. But here in the bass drop, the only thing that's happening is dropping the bass line. And you might have these little incidental things, but we're not having these overwhelming presence of hooks right now. Okay, so there's like that little kind of lasery thing going on. That's just like flavor, a little bit of spice, but it's not an overwhelming hook that's stealing the show right now. The star of the show right now is the bass line. And at this point, so everything is really nice so far. What I'm asking myself is, so here we have a very standard 16-bar bass drop. So the first 8 bars, bass drop, just dropping the bass line. My next question is in the B section. So here's the A section, the B section. My question here is, what's the B lift? B-lift. What's going to happen next? Is something going to lift the energy? Are we going to get a new sound like an open hat or a ride? Or more specifically, what's probably going to happen is we're going to start foreshadowing or working our way into the break by doing something with the vocal, like low passing it up and just transitioning us into the break. But something is probably going to happen right here. So definitely a little bit of a lift. So we're getting a lift. We'll see if we get any kind of transition. But one thing that I really like is the edit here. Anytime that you're going to have a clean A section and then a nice clean B section, it's nice to have even a little bit of an edit just to separate the two. And so this is just great so far. Just checking off the boxes. And again, let's see if there's going to be anything that helps us transition into the break here. So nothing much other than the edit right there at the end where we get a high pass and then we get a little bit of a riser. So now we're in the break. What's the goal of the break here? The goal of the break is to obviously give them a break. He's doing that because we've got the high pass. That's easy. The next thing is new and different. So we're going to get something new here. Okay, so we've taught people the baseline. They understand how we've given people the full groove here. So people understand how to move and groove. The next thing we need to do is introduce the hooks because then those two come together in the first kind of main drop here, what I call hook drop 1. And the reason why I call it hook drop, this is hook drop 1, this is hook drop 2, is because we finally start putting the hooks over the groove. Here we introduce the groove mostly by itself, just introducing the bass line with the full drums. That's the groove. We take that away, then we start introducing the hook by itself, and then finally they come together, the groove plus the hooks, they come together in HD1, hook drop 1. And so I refer to that as the HD1 equation. And the HD1 equation is just bass drop plus break 1 equals HD1. Bass drop plus break 1 equals HD1. So the groove of the bass drop plus the hook in break 1 equals hooks over groove in HD1. And I'm anticipating, again, I haven't listened to this song at all. I thought it'd be cool if I just turned it on and went, but it looks like that is exactly what we're going to get here. Just a flawless HD1 equation. So introducing a cool little hook sound. I have no idea what's going to happen with that, but I'm still anticipating some kind of vocal coming in here. Okay, so we are getting a reverse reverb vocal. What's that telling me? They're telling me that in the B section here of the break, A section, B section, A section, B section, A section, B section, all day long in the top tracks because it gives a simple organization to everything. We're getting a reverse vocal here, so what are we doing? We are previewing that there's probably going to be a vocal that comes in the B section right here that's going to preview what's going to come into the drop. Okay, so let's see if that happens. Don't you want to come out and... Of course. Like, of course, right? That's what that's doing. It's previewing the vocal. Party with me tonight. And so this is our hook, okay? Like, how can I wish I could just like write in all caps, bold, exclamation marks, bright yellow letters. This is what this is all about. In bass drop, we're introducing the bass line. In the break, we're introducing the hook. And then they come together in HD1. If you're checking off those 3 boxes, like you're doing 80 to 90% of the work. Okay, if you have your drums, your full drum groove, and then you simply high pass that drum groove here in the break. All right, and then all you're doing is introducing the bass line here in the bass drop, and then you put a hook over here in the break. That's like 90% of it. That's like, okay. So here we go. Let's listen. I'll pick you up around 9. So just a fill the gap thing. So that synth right there is just to fill the gaps of the vocal. It's like, okay, the vocal's not playing. Let's do something that kind of like keeps the interest here. How about this synth? Okay, cool. Let's keep going. If that's all right. Some people tell me I'm a party diva. That's amazing. That is so cool. I love the repetition on the party. But there we go. Okay, we're getting a hook over groove now. Why does this work? Why does this work? Because people already know the groove. They already know how to move and dance to it. So we took that away from them. Then we started to introduce the hook a little bit or a vocal. And then that sets up the promise that we're going to deliver these two together. So right away, we get a fulfillment on the hook drop. We get a proper hook drop, which is what? A hook over a groove. Here, we don't have a hook over a groove. What do we have? We have a groove. Here we have a hook. Now we have a hook over a groove. Okay? Groove plus hook equals hook over groove.
So call me up, come on over and I'll play it on the speaker. Some people tell me I'm a party.
I love that. I love that. He's keeping us in the vibe, you know, just let it go, play it again. Like it's, you know, we don't have to do anything crazy here. I don't even really hear a proper lift, but that's fine because I think it's good enough to continue on. I love that there's an edit coming up here though, because then that tells me just looking at this, we're going to have I'm anticipating a nice clean A section and a nice clean B section. I love clean A sections and clean B sections, you know?
Diva. So call me up, come on over and I'll play it on the speaker.
Okay, so what's happening in the edit? We're getting a synth. What does that tell us? That tells us, number one, if there is an edit, an edit is preparing the listener for something. It's preparing the listener for a change that's about to occur. What's that change going to be? Okay, so that's number one. We have an edit here. What is an edit doing? It's preparing the listener for a change. Now we can ask the question, what is that change going to be? Well, what's going on in the edit? All of a sudden we're getting these sound design things. Maybe there's going to be a kind of sound design thing here going on. I don't know. But that's what the producer is signaling to me. There's been so many other kinds of previewing, kind of foreshadowing, anticipating, which is all good because it creates this forward momentum through the track, right? It's preparing the listener at every single step along the way. Before something actually happens, it's previewed. It's, you know, and so that's what's happening. So let's see what happens. So that's unexpected. All right, let's see what happens though. So here what we're getting is a vocal chop, but we're still having a nice clean A and B section. So I like this. You know, this is, it's nice to have my expectations rewarded, right? But then if they're denied in some way, then that's cool too. It's like, oh, this is interesting. This is not what I was expecting, but it's still cool. But we're still getting a nice clean A section and B section. So here, the A section is that cool, like vocal phrase. Now in the B section, we're getting a vocal chop kind of thing. But as a listener, I'm still, and as a critical listener, active listener here, who's listening to thousands of tracks, broken down thousands of tracks, I'm still anticipating that there's going to be some kind of synth sound design stuff that's going to come in here, but let's find out. And so there we go. We're getting a little sound design thing. Cool. So this is interesting. So the rhythm that the vocal was playing here, if listen to this. That's kind of the rhythm that the synth picks up right here. Watch. So the vocal was and the synth is just kind of playing, is carrying that over. It's playing a simplified kind of version. So it's going bum 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 bum, and it sounds like the vocals kind of pulled back just a little bit just to get this cool interaction. But the underlying rhythm and the underlying idea here, which is that's kind of the string, the thread that's kind of weaving its way through the B section here in the drop. Okay, and so there's this kind of continuity, and it's coming from the rhythm of the hook that's playing over the groove. So that's very clever. Yeah, that's really clever. That's nice. That's great. Right, so simple. Okay, so now we're going into, so that's HD2, and I'm sorry, that's HD1, and it's very simple. We got a clean A section, B section. The A section is defined by when you're asking, when we have an A section, a B section, the most important question there is what defines the A section, what defines the B section, and the defining feature of the A section there is the vocal, just the verse vocal, right? The little phrase, and then in the B section, it's a little bit harder to point out, but what I'm saying is there's this kind of like thread of a rhythm, and the first 8 bars of the B section here, the vocal's playing that rhythm, and then in the next 8 bars, the synth picks up on a slight variation of that rhythm. Okay. But that's really cool. So we got some continuity. Then we have a little bit of interest switching between the vocal playing the rhythm and then the synth playing the rhythm. Okay, but there we go. Okay, we got a clean A section, clean B section, and now and that's HD1. Okay, and zoom in all the way out. What is HD1? Hook, drop, 1. Did they deliver on a hook drop? Absolutely. Because what is a hook drop? It's a hook over a groove. Okay, we've got the groove that was introduced over here in the bass drop. We've got a hook. Okay, we've got the A section hook, and then we've still got another hook over the B section, but it's a B section hook. Okay, so now we're moving out of the hook drop into the main break and build. So what are we doing here in the main break and build? What's the whole point of a main break and build? Well, the point of a main break and build is to take away what the listener wants. That's what we're doing. We're taking away what the listener wants. Let me put a qualification on that. We're taking away what they want in some way. Okay? What does the listener want? Okay? The listener wants hooks over the groove. That's what all of this right here, all of this. So this is 2 minutes, right? So we have 1 minute here, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. So 2 minutes, 2 minutes of preparing the listener for HD1. We're giving them what they want right here. They're like, yes, this is what I wanted. This is the crack that I need. Now what are we doing? We're taking that away from them. Right? We're taking it away from them, and then we're going to tease its return. Take it away, tease its return. A section, B section. Take it away in some way. So we're taking away the hooks over the groove. So obviously we're going to take away the groove because that's going to be a high pass. That's so easy. But there's other ways to take away the groove. So maybe we only play the tops. Maybe we completely take away the kick. Maybe we completely take away the bass. But we take away the groove in some way. Okay. Another thing we do is we take away the hooks, typically in some way. Okay. Now, what the producer here is doing, Deeper Purpose, is he's doing what I call strip. Okay. A strip is a very common technique where it's just basically kick, a kick, bass, hook, kick, bass, hook, kick, bass, hook. And the reason why this is a really cool technique, and not to get too deep into the weeds here, but what a strip does is it's like a level down. Imagine stairs. We're stepping down in levels of energy. Okay, so here at the hook drop's like the highest level of energy. But then when we get to a strip, since we're moving away some of the groove, we're taking one step down. And the reason why is because we're going to continue going down. And then what we're going to do is we're eventually going to get into what I call the basement of the track. The basement of the track is the lowest energy level. Okay. And so that's what's going on here. A strip is a nice way. It's like a middle step between the two. We've got the high state of energy. We got a low state of energy. And then we have that strip as just the level of energy in between those two. It's just taking our steps down. Okay, and so that's what's going on. We're working our way down. Okay, we're starting to deconstruct, and then we're going to start to build back up. Remember, again, always A section, B section. Okay, take away what they want, tease it back up, deconstruct, build back up. Okay, break it down, build it back up, break it down, build it back up. A section, B section, all day long in top tracks. And this is one of the things where, I mean, this is one of the many things where tracks that are not top tracks go wrong. I mean, but anyway, so let's listen to what happens here. So right away, we're getting some cool, interesting tension stuff here going. And that's what you want to build. Because the fundamental tension that's created in the main break and build is the fact that we're taking away what they want. They want to have the hooks over the groove. We take that away, automatically there is tension. Because people are like, no, I want that back. I want that back. It's like the tension of giving a 2-year-old a present and then taking that away from him. He's like, no, I want it back. I want it back. You give it back to him and he's like all happy again. That's the low level tension, the fundamental tension that's created here. All right. But then there's other ways to build tension too, especially here. But just getting these reps and these kind of like crazy things going on, that builds tension too. It like doubles down on the existing tension. And this is cool because, you know, along the way there's been some sound design stuff kind of teased, but this is where the sound design stuff for me is getting its like payoff. It's really becoming a more of a prominent role. Otherwise it just kind of was like this secondary character that had no character development. This is for me where the sound design's kind of paying off.
People tell me I'm a party.
So now we're in the basement. Okay, so we've stepped down. And the thing that I really like about this step down, and something that I've noticed quite a bit lately, is you're stepping down in the groove by doing the strip, but there's other elements that are building tension up. So the groove is stepping down, but then other elements are stepping up. So what is stepping up? What's building tension here? What's raising the energy level? So we get this kind of contradictory motion. The groove is settling, but the other elements, the hook elements in this case, are building kind of tension and getting more exciting. So it's kind of this contradictory motion, which is really cool. But the way that the hooks are kind of building this tension is you can hear the delays on the vocals getting more intense, and you can hear the synth obviously getting way more intense. Check it out. See that? So we're getting this kind of motion. So the groove is going down, the hooks are getting up. So the groove is going down in intensity or energy, and the hooks are going up in energy. Okay, and so, but remember the main thing here is we're stepping down in energy. We're working our way towards the basement. So here we finally get to the basement, and the basement is here. We pretty much, it seems like, just going to get the vocal with no groove, and that sets up a tension because this implicitly and subliminally tells the listener that, hey, later on we're going to bring the groove back over this. Don't you worry. Okay, but
I'm a party diva. So call me
hear that buzz, the bzzz. There you go. That's some tension too.
up, come on over and I'll play it on the speaker.
Okay, but at a certain point, we need to start building this back up. So we've deconstructed all the way down to the basement. So that's the A section. Now the B section is going to be the proper build. And so we're going to build it back up. Let's see how they do that. Don't you wanna come out and party with me tonight? Okay, so the first thing they do is, so we got this kind of male-ish vocal, but they also start bringing the drums back in without the lows. Okay, so there you go. There's our first move. So what are they doing? They're teasing. They're teasing the return of the groove now because they brought the drums in without the low end. So they're teasing the return of the groove. Starting to slowly build things back up because here we have that male vocal over a high-passed groove, really. And so that's just a tease for what's to come. I'll pick you up around 9 if that's Okay. And so in the next kind of phase of building things back up, we're going to start to get a lot more of the tension building elements. And that's going to be rep, roll, rise, grow, and pipo. I don't think we need to go too deep into those, so let's just say what they are quickly. Rep is some kind of hook repetition typically. So if the vocal is going to start doing party, 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 they just keep on repeating party, that builds tension. So that's what a rep is, a hook repetition. So rep, roll, some kind of snare roll or a kick roll. Rise, some kind of riser. Grow is just things getting in a bigger space. And then pipo is stands for pattern, interrupt, pay off, PIPO, pattern, interrupt, pay off. And that's where you have this build tension, build, 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 build. You cut it, so that's the pattern interrupt because you're breaking the build pattern. And then you have a pay off. And so those are the 5 build elements, and that's probably what we're going to get. We're going to get some of those right here in the last 8 bars of the build section, the main break and build. So that's rep, roll, rise, grow, and pipo. So let's check it out.
All right. Don't you wanna come out and party with me tonight?
So we've got the grow, we've got a definite, you can hear the big snare roll, but let's see what happens at the end.
You walk around 9 if that's all right.
And definitely a rep, so an accelerated rep there because they went down to like 30-second notes, and then you can hear the riser too. So we don't have a hook repetition. You don't have to have all of those, but if you just have some of those are the main tension building elements. So we don't have a hook rep, but we definitely have a roll, we have a rise, and we have a grow because the space is expanding. And now we're just about to get a pipo, which again is pattern, interrupt, payoff. So we're breaking the build pattern, we're cutting it, we're abruptly cutting it, and then we're going to get a payoff, and then we get the explosion into the drop.
That's all right. She's a party diva.
Some people tell me
So there you go. That was the pattern interrupt. It stopped. We get the payoff. She's a party diva. And then we get the explosion. Now what are we doing? We're now going into HD2. What is HD2 all about? The exact same thing as HD1. Putting the hooks over the groove. Putting the hooks over the groove. Okay? And like, I want to stress this so much because that is what the main break, is all about. That's what it's teasing. That's its function. That's its entire purpose for being what it is. There's that low level of tension, that fundamental underlying layer of tension, which is that the hooks over the groove are not there anymore. Okay, and so that is the absolute minimum level, the underlying level of tension, and all other aspects of the tension that are created here are building off of that fundamental layer of tension, which is that the hooks and groove are not playing together. The hooks and groove are not playing together. That's where the real tension is. All the other tension things that happen double down on that idea, or they tease that it is coming back, it's coming back, it's coming back. What's coming back? Hooks over groove, hooks over groove, hooks over groove. And so that's what's happening here. The reason why this feels good is because now we're getting what we want again. They've been teasing hooks over groove again. Every single track, right, is just some hook. What we're craving now through all this is we're craving the hooks of this track now. We're craving the groove of this track now. And so that's what they're setting up here. So they're going to give us those hooks over those grooves, right? And this hook over this groove for this track.
She's a party diva.
some people tell me I'm a party diva.
Right? No frills going into it too. Literally just putting the hooks over the groove. No kind of crazy foghorn stuff or entry, just right into it.
Some call me up, come on over and I'll play it on the speaker.
Come and party.
Okay, so this is different. So over here we played the phrase for 8 bars, and we played it for another 8 bars. So here we're getting kind of into the B section of the hook drop 1 early in this track. I think they could have played it again. they could have like kept it what I call a sandwich track. A sandwich track is when you have hook drop 1 and hook drop 2. They're basically the same. I mean, the example that I go to for this is La Danza. HD1 and HD2 are identical. But here we're getting a little bit of a variation from HD1, which is always cool. It's just another way of potentially developing a track. And this is something producers are always wondering about, is how do I make the second drop different from the first drop? Or another way of saying that is, how can I further develop the second drop over the first drop? And the first answer is you don't need to. You don't need to, because you have to understand the psychology of what's going on with the listener. The only thing you're doing here is anticipating and building tension and building up that dopamine, so that you can simply go back to what they like. This is what they like. This is what they want. So you can full on 100% just give it to them again, right? This is just a tech house track. And so it's really just give them what they want, take it away, and then give it back to them, right? And so that's what he's doing here, but then he's being a little bit faster about the variation. So here we're getting a little bit of a change, and I have no idea what's going to happen. So let's see how. This is still a 32 bar drop, and he's pushing the events of HD1 earlier now in HD2. So I have no idea what he's going to do over here in the 16 bars. This is going to be new and different compared to what happened over here in HD1, because here you can see a minute-long outro. So I have no idea what's going to happen, but I do know here where he's satisfying our desire of getting that Party Diva vocal over the drop. Now we're getting a little bit of some vocal chopping going on. But it is that same rhythm that we were getting in the B section of HD1, which is da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So again, let's see what happens. So similar kind of edit here. So I have no idea what's going to happen. Okay, so remember in the B section here of HD1, in the last 8 bars, that's when the synth came in. So here in HD2, what he's doing is a technique that I call front-loading the good stuff. And front-loading is exactly what's going on here, is you're just front-loading all the good stuff. You're making it happen in a faster succession. So here in HD1, we had 16 bars of the phrase, a Party Diva phrase, and then here we have 8 bars of just that vocal rhythm, and then here we have 8 bars of the synth basically playing that rhythm. But all of this is now happening in a faster succession over here in HD2. So this is a technique that I call front loading. You're front loading the good stuff. Things are just happening at a faster pace now. Okay, because we're taking so front loading. The idea is. I'm trying to think of which direction to put this, but I'll just, whatever. So here's HD1, right? So it happens in this amount of time. So in HD2, front-loading technique means just we're going to compress it closer to the front. So things are going to happen in a much faster amount of time. So this is what's going on in HD2. We're getting a front-loaded HD2 compared to HD1. But I'm excited. I don't know what's going to happen in the last 8 bars. I'm going to guess, I'm going to make a prediction right now that he's probably going to keep this synth pattern going for 16 bars here, but let's see. Yeah, nice. And I just heard something. I'm not sure if he's actually doing it, but what he might be doing is a trans. So a trans is a transition. And it's part of a CLT story, but this has gone on longer than I wanted it to, so we're not going to go deep into that. But there's definitely other videos where I talk about CLT stories. But a trans is simply just a transition out of something. So there's going to be something that transitions. And one thing he could do to transition out of this is to have that synth continue to play, but have it grow out into a reverb. And that's kind of what it sounded like was going to happen right here. But let's check it out. Let's see if that's what actually happens. I don't know. Okay, so he didn't do that, and that's totally cool. It did sound like maybe there was a little bit of bigger reverb hits on there compared to the first 8 bars, but whatever. So there wasn't a definite trans on the synth. But one thing that's cool is in the edit here into the outro, he started to do some weird things on the synth, and that kind of gave it a finality. You can almost think of it as like a period. So it's not just like playing the synth pattern and then just drop it into the outro. We're getting some kind of weird element that just serves as like a final statement, and then we just are going to go into the outro. And this is, I'm guessing, is going to be what I call a boring outro, which is just groove, and then we go into the beats. Exactly. Okay, now we're going to get some beats, probably, maybe a high pass bass. Okay, just beats. Okay, high pass beats. About as flawless as an outro as you can get. Not getting in, the producer's not getting his own way here. So this is a perfect HD2 formula, an interesting HD2 formula. This is not kind of a common thing to see to have this big of a difference in HD2 over HD1. It's kind of a fun thing to see, though, because this is a great example of front-loading HD2 relative to HD1. Just things happen quicker. And the big question is if he's going to front-load. So here's the big question. So if HD1 is 32 bars, right, and HD2 is 32 bars, but HD2 is front-loaded, then what the heck is going to be happening in HD2? See, you can imagine that if you're going to front-load HD2, it would be a shorter length, so maybe 24 bars, right? So instead of 16, 8, 8, he would just do that whole thing in 8, 8, 8, and then outro. But what he did is he took this 16 bars here, the A section of HD1, and he condensed it down into 8 bars of HD2. And then he took the vocal rhythm, dropped it right here into the second 8 bars, and then we get 16 bars of the synth playing that rhythm. Interesting. So in a way, it's kind of interesting. It's like a little bit of a mirror of HD1. So here in HD1, we have 16 bars at the front of the vocal, okay? But here we have 16 bars of the synth. And so so here we can think of bookends. So the first bookend here of HD1 is the vocal. That got condensed into 8 bars at the front of HD2. Here we have 16 bars of the synth at the end of HD2, but that was only 8 bars here at the end of HD1. So some interesting kind of flip-flopping going on here. But, yeah. But it's just, I'm making all these... we got to end this video I'm making all these notes because, number one, if I was going to recreate, or not recreate, but model an arrangement development based off of this track, these are exactly the types of things that I would be thinking about, So I would just, in my first iteration of my own track, I would probably lay things out exactly how it is here. And so that's why I'm trying to make sense of it. The other reason, and for me, the more important reason why I'm trying to make sense of it, is from the listener's point of view. Right? The reason why top tracks are top tracks is because they're very easy for the listener to digest and understand. They keep things exciting. They keep things moving. There's always a forward momentum. There's always something interesting going on. And so when we have these changes here, I like to try to understand what's going on from the listener's point of view so that I can understand. So when I go ahead and execute this kind of development in my track, I'm keeping it simple the way that it is here, and I'm not overcomplicating and I'm not confusing it. I'm trying to just really understand the of what's going on here so that I don't step on my own feet as I'm doing it, And so the lesson for me is here we just have a very standard HD1. We have an A section with a phrase vocal. We have a B section with a particular rhythm that's played with the vocal and then with the synth. And then here that stuff gets front loaded. Okay, and we still have an A section, B section. We have that kind of front-loaded phrase, and then the vocal rhythm, and then the synth playing that rhythm. You see what I mean? And so that is really all that I need to then go and kind of use this track as a model for a development, because then I just need to really find a vocal, right, that's kind of similar like that, or that I need to find a vocal that I can play for 16 bars here or 8 bars here, and then I can chop that vocal up and play a rhythm, and then I can write a synth part that plays that rhythm, and then I can have them kind of bounce back and forth, and I'd be able to kind of quickly develop an idea, or at least a first draft of a potential development using my own sounds, my own groove, but modeled after something that is proven to work, because this just broke into the top 3, and it's a cool track, as you can obviously hear. Very simple. But that's it. That's it for this one. It's again, a flawless HD2 formula. I love it. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's an amazing example of the HD1 equation. Bass drop plus break 1 equals HD1. And it's another flawless example of what I call the HD2 story. The HD2 story is give them what they want, take it away, and then give it back to them. And that's exactly what they do. They give us what they want, which is hooks over the groove. They take that away in some way, so they take away the hooks over the groove in some way. They build things back up, and they tease the return of the hooks over the groove, and then they develop, and then they finally give it back to us. They give us the hooks over the groove again. So this is just awesome. It's just perfect, right? So that's it for this one. Awesome. This was fun because, I mean, maybe I listened to this in passing or something. Down or stood up, I guess, as I am right now, and listened all the way through, and there we go. So that's it. I'm going to quit rambling. If you have any questions, definitely leave them down below, but then we'll call it quits on this, and I'll see you in the next one.